Good morning. Welcome. I'm glad that you joined us
Ja.
in order to allow you a little bit to understand what's going on
Ja.
in Israel during this time and how we're preparing for the coming future. With us, beside Yoran, that you know him as our marketing manager, we have two guests joining us from Jerusalem. First, let me welcome Efrat Meir-Groman, which is the director for the European division. And I'll give you the stage in a minute. And the other one that will address her in the end is Dana Gazit, that will replace me at the end of the period. So Efrat, I'm giving the stage to you. Just tell us a bit what's going on right now in Israel and the Ministry of Tourism.
So hi, thank you, Nira. Hi, everyone. I want to start in last year, 2019, we had a record year, as you all know, with approximately 5 million tourists coming from abroad to Israel. This is a very, very important number for us. We must recall then that only in 2017 we've had less than 3 million tourists to Israel. So this was a huge growth to us. Unfortunately, on March 2020, it all stopped. We never had any preparation for this kind of event. And it has affected not only the hotels and flights, as you all know, but also Israeli travel agents, tour guides, bus drivers, tourist and touristic sites and attraction, and so on. In the total of tourism in Israel, we have approximately 50% of outbound tourists, which means the other 50% will be the domestic tourism in Israel. So starting May, we have taken some measures in order to come back to normal here in Israel. First of all, the schools are open. Most of the businesses are open, but cultural activities and some activities are still forbidden. For all businesses, the new regulations are called in Israel the purple badge. These are new standards of cleaning. And the measures were put in place in order to help the economy to come back to normal. So I will just speak about a few measures because there are a lot, but for restaurants, it means, for example, that up to 100 customers, you can have the full occupancy of the restaurant. If it's more than 100 customers, you have to put less occupancy of the restaurant. There must be a certain distance between the tables, body temperature measurement, of course, at the entry, and of course, cleaning and disinfectant of all the restaurants and the tools. For swimming pool, we're talking about 6 square meters per swimmer inside the swimming pool. These are the measures. And the hotels who want to come back to normal must put in place all the purple badge standards, as well as for the restaurants, swimming pool, etc. Which means that actually not all hotels are open as usual. We can see that today only 30% of the hotels in Israel are open, but it comes back and they are open gradually until they will be all able to put all the measures as needed. So what we actually do, Nira, you were asking, actually we are encouraging domestic tourism. We want to see Israelis back on track. We want to see them everywhere. We just launched yesterday a new internet campaign calling all Israelis to come back and visit. And what is important for us is to see places that normally most of the tourists are from abroad. For example, Jerusalem and Tiberias. These are cities where normally 80% of the people staying there for a night are tourists from abroad. This is why we try to encourage Israelis to keep and visit all different sites inside the country. So for the biggest question, when it will open, of course, we don't know. This is a decision that will be made with the Minister of Tourism, Minister of Health, and Prime Minister. As soon as we have any news about it, we will be more than glad to share it with everyone, but we still don't know. So what we are trying to see is, one is, like I just said, the domestic tourism, and the second thing is to enable the whole market to be ready, hotels and everyone to be ready for the coming back of the tourists. I will add the last thing is about the help that the government is proposing for all travel and tourism industry in Israel. There was a decision made a week ago by the government. They will propose a help of 300 million shekels in order to help the tourism industry, travel agents, and all people who deal directly with tourism. I didn't talk about our flight company El Al, because this is another issue that is still pending with the government.
Less relevant to our market since they're not flying to the Nordics.
I can't hear you.
No, I'm sorry. I said El Al is less significant to our market since they're not traveling to the Nordics.
Right, so that's it.
Thank you. We'll go into more details of the preparation of Israel and what we're seeing right now. You're more than welcome to stay. I know that you have another thing to attend, but I'll be glad if you'll keep with us. Let me share with you a presentation that we prepared. So as I want to go to details with what Efrat said, so how we're preparing, or what are the standards that Israel is taking in order to control the situation and the tourism aspect. When we're looking in the numbers, so we were one of the first countries to require quarantine to visitors from abroad. We had a few groups from Korea and Germany and Poland, if I remember correct, that we saw the first cases in the groups, in the tourist group, and we helped them to go into kind of quarantine until we helped them to get to the first available flight back home. In March 18, we actually closed the borders. We were the first country to close the borders. The entire world looked at us as crazy people. I wasn't sure why we're doing it as well, but apparently then almost the rest of the world, being in Sweden, we can say, joined us. As Efrat mentioned, from 4.5 million tourists last year, or almost 5 million expected this year, we went down to 0. And in March 19, the entire country went into lockdown for all citizens for a month, including the period of Pesach, Pascha, Easter, and so on. It was very challenging, but it was a complete lockdown. As Fat said, now we have a purple standard, a purple badge that is prepared for each sector in different life of the Israelis. So offices can return to work, and people are back to work, and stores are open. Public transportation is working almost as regular. The trains are still not working. We hope that they will be open this week. They're still trying to understand how you make sure that it won't be overpopulated or over-occupied during the travels. Outdoor events and gatherings are allowed, and the beaches are open, restaurants, cafes, everything is open. All of these easing of the situation is, of course, by keeping the 2 meter apart, and that's the main thing. So as long As people are able to keep them apart, then things can run as normal in the office, outside in the beach, or wherever you want. The 14 days quarantine for people, for the Israelis returning back, is still obliged, meaning that, again, borders are still closed, tourists are not allowed, but Israel citizens are allowed, but need to go into the 14 days of self-quarantine. We have one hotel in Ashkelon that is still acting as a quarantine place. So how we look at the future. As you might heard from other countries as well, countries are categorized as green, yellow, and red. Green is Cyprus or Greece or New Zealand, Australia, and so on. Israel is moving between green and yellow. It depends on the weeks. Right now, there is a discussion. At the end, we probably will open to those green countries, including most of the Nordics, not Sweden, of course, but all of it is under a kind of agreements of bilateral agreements. So it needs to be agreed between the two countries that the citizens of those two countries will be allowed to go in between. There's still quite a lot of questions regarding how you know that a Danish person is a Danish person that lived in Denmark and did not come from Sweden, for example, or the other way around, or how do you know that the one that came from Denmark is not a Swedish person, and so on. Being in Shenzhen for Europe, it's hard the opportunity to control exactly who's coming and where from. So that's one of the big questions that is still on the table, and that's one of the reasons why we're still not opening. As Efrat mentioned, domestic travel has started. It started before Shavuot, the Jewish holiday, Pentecostal. And the demand by the Israelis to consume tourism was huge. And then all the hotels in Eilat that were open were fully booked, and they can see a very nice booking in most of the countries, especially next to the different shores that we have. And then there was a negotiation between the ministries, between the health ministry and the tourism ministry, how to prepare these purple standards and to the different accommodation, and it was published. Regarding flights, there are flights to Israel. Lufthansa is flying almost daily to Israel, Wizz Air is flying, LOT is flying, and other companies, but they took the ones that are more relevant to our market. Regarding Norwegian, well, you know the situation of Norwegian even better than me. We do hope that they will return as soon as possible. I assume, I hope it will be in the autumn, assuming that it depends when we open our borders and then their situation. Ben Gurion Airport is ready to restart. They're working and they prepared themselves. And they did a lot of work on how to keep everyone safe. They're asking for tourists that or passengers that coming to a flight. If you remember that we had 3 hours before to be in the airport, so now they're asking 4 hours in order to be in time to take all the measurements and lines that is needed, including the temperature check at the enter. They're making sure that everyone wear their masks. Keeping the distancing, including reducing sitting areas and blocking some seats. You can see by the pictures how they prepared it already. Cleaning, of course, they increased the often of the cleaning, changing the equipment that they're using. They even bought those nice robots that you can see that will do some automatic cleaning as well. The hotels. So they started to be open in May. They're more and more hotels are opening. The challenge is more in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, since they're related on inbound tourism. All hotel chains and hotels are prepared and doing their branding and their regulations by training staff using high quality antiviral determinants and giving the instructions to the workers how to clean, how to do, improving the air quality, everything that they need. For example, they're putting in each room this hygienic kit for per person. So it will wait for them in order to use alcohol gel cleaners and masks and gloves and whatever is needed. And even in the dining rooms. So the 5-star hotels usually will do a la carte and serving to the table, including breakfast. So in those places, you'll see less of the buffet, but even here in the 3-4 stars hotel, you can see that they adjust the Israeli buffet to something that is more of closed containers, small amount that you don't need to touch anything, even in the serving. So there's no option for a guest to touch something that another guest will have, but one waiter will serve you whatever you want. They put all the hand sanitizing stations and signs to help and understand how to keep the distance in order to help the guests feel as safe as possible and understand that they're in good hands and everyone is taking care of them. The national parks are open again in order to have the right number of people and not having too many people in the same site at the same time. You are asked to be pre-book and prepay through a designated website that they built especially for that. It's quite hard right now in these days to find time to visit because the Israelis are booking, especially the weekends, in advance in order to plan their visit. But the systems of how to do it are ready and translated to English. Of course, they started in Hebrew, but they are translated to English in order that once the borders will be open, the inbound tourism will be able to enjoy everything. Yeah, even the holy sites were sanitarized. I don't know when we sanitized the Western Wall before, but or the Holy Sepulchre, but it's done as well. At those places, they built like capsules that people can pray in small groups of up to 10 people. So they will be able to continue with their worship, but in a safe measures. We have our website that you know, both in Danish and in Swedish, and of course in English as well for the rest of the countries. Over there, we putting all the regulations and the updates of the situation. So you can follow them, or if, of course, making a question for us. In general, we are working on the social network using the hashtag of Inspired by Israel, trying to have some activities online for the customers, for the trade as well. You're mostly welcome to visit both our Instagram and Facebook pages and to be part of it. That's about that. At the end, you need to remember that we are here for you. We are trying to be prepared. Hopefully, being realistic, hopefully we'll be able to open the borders around end of September, beginning of October to the Jewish holidays. But it really, really depends how we'll see both the amount of sick people in Israel, but in Europe as well, now that the borders are opening here in Europe. Feel free to ask questions, either by the chat or posting in. If you have no question, let me present Dana. Dana Gazet, well, after being here 5 years, it's time to me to return to Israel. Yes, into self-quarantine of 2 weeks. It's been a significant and unbelievable period here that I enjoyed, and I never thought in my wildest dream that with all the things that can happen in Israel, we'll have this COVID-19 happening worldwide. But challengers are always there, and Dana will replace me. Actually, Dana is gaining also to be the director of the Netherlands, and she will sit in Amsterdam. So our office here in Stockholm, led by Joran, but with Erika and Zohar, are still here, working as usual, but with a director that sits in Amsterdam. So Dana, the stage is yours, actually.
Okay, unmute. So hi everybody. Like Amira said, I will be sitting in Amsterdam, but visiting as much as needed, and assuming we will have flights between the countries. Also, Nira, thank you. I have very large shoes to fill. I mean, the numbers keep going up every year, and it's going to be a challenge to keep it up. What I wanted to say that here in Israel, I mean, of course, I will promote Israel in large, but in the last couple of years, I've been specifically promoting Israel as an accessible destination. So if that's something you would like to speak about and learn about, how Israel is also adapted to different people with different disabilities. Also Israel as a wine destination. Israel has a lot of smaller brands, and there's a lot to discuss there if you would want to hear. Like I said, I will be available for questions, and once I will have my local phone number, I will spread it among you, and feel free to reach out to talk. I will meet everyone personally, of course, once I get there. That's really just a quick hello to everyone. I guess I will elaborate once we meet one-on-one at the end. And that's it for now.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, and good luck. And yeah, you'll get to hear. Well, thank you, everyone. Unless you have any question or something that you want us to elaborate on. So enjoy your rest of the week. And we are here. You know how to contact us. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.